The darkness didn't fall. It rose. It seeped out of the ground, swallowed the horizon, and choked the sky. It wasn't just the absence of photons. It was a substance, thick, cloying, and heavy. It was the physical manifestation of a world without God. In the control center of Sector 7, the emergency lights flickered and died. "Reboot!" Regent Kael screamed into the blackness. "Switch to the quantum backup!" System unresponsive. The AI's voice was no longer soothing. It was distorted, slowed down, like a dying battery record. Optical sensors, blind. Photonic generation, impossible. The light of the world protocol has failed. Kael fumbled in the dark. He found a high-powered tactical flashlight, the kind used by the peacekeepers. He clicked it on. The beam extended 6 inches and stopped. The darkness ate the light. It swallowed the beam whole. Kael hyperventilated. He was alone in the dark with the pain. The heat of the last year had vanished, replaced by a damp, soul-crushing cold. But the sores, the ulcers from the first plague, were burning hotter than ever. He tried to scream, but his tongue felt too big for his mouth. It was swollen, dry, and agonizing. He bit down on it, trying to use the sharp pain of the bite to distract himself from the dull, throbbing ache of the sores. "Gnaw their tongues for pain." He remembered the verse. He had deleted it from the archives himself 10 years ago. "No," Kael whimpered, spitting blood into the dark. "This is a simulation, a hack. The haters have hacked my eyes." He stumbled forward, crashing into his desk. He clawed at his face, tearing at the mark on his forehead. The bioluminescent tattoo, which had glowed green for 5 years, was dead. The seat of the beast was blind. 300 miles away in the Canyon of Refuge, it was noon. Or at least it looked like noon. Paul sat outside his tent, mending a sandal. The light around him was soft, golden, and warm. It didn't come from the sun. The sun was currently a black void in the sky. It didn't come from a lamp. It came from the air itself. "It's Exodus 10, Sarah said, walking up with a basket of fresh vegetables from the garden. "But all the children of Israel had light in their dwellings." She looked up at the sky. Beyond the perimeter of their camp, the world was a wall of ink. They were living inside a bubble of glory. "Leo is down by the spring," Sarah said softly. "He says he can hear them." "Hear who?" "The city. The wind carries the sound." Paul stood up and walked to the edge of the camp, where the supernatural light met the supernatural night. He listened. At first, it sounded like the wind in the wires, but then he recognized it. It was a wail, a collective, citywide moan of sheer terror. Millions of people, trapped in the pitch black, unable to see their hands in front of their faces, unable to find food, unable to find their families. The AI was dead. The locks on the doors wouldn't open. They were entombed in their smart homes. "They are in outer darkness," Paul whispered, "before the judgment even begins." Leo walked up to the line, holding a lantern. He pushed the lantern into the darkness. The flame sputtered and turned blue, shedding no light beyond the glass. "Why don't they repent?" Leo asked, pulling the lantern back into the safety of the camp. "If I was in that, I would call out to Jesus." "They can't," Paul said sadly. "The darkness isn't just outside, Leo. It's inside. They took the oath to Lucifer. They chose the light bearer. Now that his light is out, they have nothing but their pride." Inside the Vatican, the Pontiff sat on his throne. The candles had all been extinguished by the heavy atmosphere. The great stained glass windows were black squares. He was weeping, but not for his sins. He was weeping for his power. "Aurelius!" he shouted into the void. "Where is the tech? You promised the eternal grid. You promised we would transcend nature." A voice answered from the darkness of the nave. It was the false prophet, Aurelius. His voice was no longer charismatic. It was serpentine and cold. "The technology relies on physics, Holy Father. This is not physics." "Fix it!" the Pope shrieked, scratching at the sores on his neck until his collar was wet with blood. "The people are losing faith. They are blaspheming us." "They are blaspheming him," Aurelius corrected, stepping closer, his footsteps echoing on the marble. "Listen to them." Outside St. Peter's, the mob was howling. They weren't praying for mercy. They were cursing the sky. They were cursing the God of the Bible. They blamed him for the dark. They blamed him for the pain. "They hate him more than ever," Aurelius whispered, a smile audible in his voice. "Good. That means they are still ours." "What do we do?" the Pope whimpered. "We wait," Aurelius said. "This is the 5th bowl. There are only 2 left. When the light returns, and it will return, I will tell them that the darkness was the final attack of the resistance. I will tell them that the Christians stole the sun." "And then?" "And then," Aurelius hissed, "we will gather them. We will give them a target for their pain. We will march on the wilderness, and we will kill every last one of them." Back in the camp, the mood was not one of fear, but of deep, reverent awe. Without the distraction of the sun or the stars, the presence of God in the camp was heavy. People spoke in whispers. Worship services happened spontaneously, lasting for hours. Paul stood in the center of the gathering. They didn't need a fire. The faces of the believers shone with the reflected light of the glory that covered them. "The world is ending," Paul said, his voice ringing clear in the quiet air. "The kingdom of the beast has fallen into shadow. But look at you." He gestured to the crowd, men and women who had lost their jobs, their homes, their status, and their families for the sake of the name. "You are the light of the world," Paul quoted. "A city set on a hill cannot be hidden. Even now, while they gnaw their tongues in the dark, we are feasting." He broke a loaf of the manna bread. "This is the 5th year," Paul said. "Hold on. The darkness is the herald of the dawn. The king is coming." They ate in the light, while the world slept in the nightmare of its own making.